Hi, viewers. Welcome to another episode of the AI People, where we share inspiring stories of thinkers and builders who are humanizing AI. It's my pleasure to invite Alex to this episode. Alex, why don't you kick us off with an introduction?
Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here. My name is Alex George. I'm the Director of Advisory and Capacity Building at 1 Million Degrees. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And I'm also one of the founding steering committee members of the AI for Career Development Coalition. So excited to talk about that as well. And also a part-time student Chicago booth, I should mention. I guess I am branded as well. But very involved in all things AI, particularly higher education, both in terms of how we're institutionalizing it in systems and educate and different types of schools, but also how to operationalize it in the business function of higher education, which I'm particularly excited to talk about.
Great. Thank you, Alex, for the introduction. Could you please maybe share more about your organization and what do you do so that we kind of appreciate the mission that you're part of and the initiatives that you're leading as part of your org?
Yeah, definitely. So 1 Million Degrees is a Chicago-based nonprofit for the vast majority of its existence. And our mission is to propel community college students into economic mobility. My team, the advisory and capacity building team, we have taken that model and we're translating it into different interstitial spaces, dual enrollment, transfer, and also just community college completion. So that's going from the K-12 ecosystem all the way into community college and traditional four-year universities. And our team is working with higher ed institutions and systems to implement a holistic student advising model that improves completion, and then obviously we're hoping that this propels students onto these economically mobile career pathways. We don't directly conduct the programming. We're really like consulting in a product shop. So we come in multi-year initiatives to really ensure that these sustained for a pilot period and then thrive and scale afterwards. So a lot of complexity, a lot of moving parts. But as pertinent to this conversation, AI has really entered the work that we do, both improving how we deliver our services, but also thinking deeply about how does AI fit into these educational systems and how can we use this in particular to improve student outcomes, not just putting AI in front of students, but how do you leverage that to improve the services that the colleges themselves are delivering?
That's great. I would like to learn about your journey so far in the education industry and what really inspired you to, focusing on transforming the learning experience for your student communities with AI. If you could touch upon those.
Definitely. So my dad is a college professor, so I think I had from the moment I was born just like this innate curiosity and wanted to be a lifelong learner. And I did start my educational career through Teach for America. I spent 2 years teaching second grade. I moved into foundations and nonprofits. Then I went into Chicago Public Schools, managing their work-based learning, their career opportunities at scale for the district. Moved into startups for a bit, doing work-based learning and digital tools of that nature, and then ended up at 1 Million Degrees, where I'm now. We talked a little bit about this consulting and product design in terms of community colleges and holistic student services. But that, throughout that path, it sounds like a lot of different positions and titles, which it is, but there's always been this sort of tilt towards innovation and scale and leveraging technology and partnerships, frankly, to do the work that we do in education better. And AI is such a natural extension of that, curiosity that I have, and then also desire to leverage technology. Listen, frankly, AI is not being leveraged very well in schools right now, if at all. It's caused, if anything, more conflict than benefits, but there's just enormous potential. And, one of the things that if you work in social impact and if you work in school systems, you often come across a scale problem. The best, most impactful programs are really expensive. It's impossible to serve every student that needs it. And that's just eventually you're looking at the economics of it and you wonder, how is this possible? But AI, with its ability to boost human impact, to do things that, frankly, humans could not do at scale, we're on the precipice of something potentially really great, and that is so exciting to me. Hence why I've not just been through my work at 1 Million Degrees, but our work with the coalition. I've joined a number of cohorts now at my time at Booth, actively exploring AI. And just generally speaking, it this is like the new precipice of technology. You sort of have to dive into it if you want to stay relevant. I mean, I do believe that like AI isn't going to take your job. Someone using AI is. I firmly believe that. So I think you could also say that's a job security thing that's propelled me into this work.
Absolutely, we will definitely build upon that. I think that's one of the major concerns as well. How do you stay relevant to the industry?
Yeah.
Um, and the societal challenge that you're addressing is definitely commendable, right? More than 50% of the state budget goes into education initiatives, and now AI is reshaping all industries, including education. And how is AI improving learning outcomes or making education like more personalized? I think that's a really important part of bringing AI into the classroom.
There's like there's no widely leveraged tool that I know of. Magic School AI comes to mind that like that has had an extremely fast rise. I know there's like fairly large adoption, but not so much that it has like a significant part of the market. So I would say that, largely speaking, probably teachers are using LLMs to say, hey, here's my lesson plan. I have students at these specific areas or levels of learning or cultural identities or whatever they may have, and they're spitting out several different types of worksheets. I assume that's where most of it is happening, and there's great value in it. But I don't think that there has been like really strong adoption of a specific tool that integrates into your curriculum, into your work plan. There's still sort of like add-ons that, and even the schools that have adopted these digital tools, it's not a requirement. It's not taught to them that, hey, this is part of your pedagogy, it's part of that you do work. It's presented as like, hey, here's something you could use that you could adopt. So that's going to make really uneven adoption as well. That said, I have heard a lot of really interesting cases where people are bringing in those AI tools. And I think about when I taught second grade, being in a classroom with 20, 30 students. Some could not read at all. Some were reading at a fifth, sixth grade level, and you're teaching them the same lesson and producing the same material. So, yeah, I'm sure as a young teacher or someone who's tech savvy, they are diving deep into it. And I think that's where there's like a lot of value. And just the fact that you have one teacher for 30 students, and that's probably not going to change anytime soon. But once again, I don't see that happening at scale yet. So it's like very much these innovative teachers, maybe some innovative schools or school districts, but generally speaking, these are happening in pockets.
I want to like switch gears and talk about like the future of AI adoption. The next 1 to 2 years, where do you see uh, AI use cases in education? And you are at a vantage point where you're seeing the landscape evolving. So, what are your thoughts?
Education moves slow. A lot of people say it's like the Titanic, and that's true for the technology adoption, the sales cycles. So it's not going to be like a rapid rise of AI. Like, don't we are seeing to like Magic School AI, just to bring that up again, I think was the fastest growing ed tech platform of all time, right? But still, like the market penetration, when you look at the whole country, is still like not so significant. So it's gonna take a while. Like, and I don't know if like I hope that we start seeing. I know that there's a lot of people that I'm talking to in the space that are interested in building these administrative functions. Like part of what I'm doing at Booth is my desire to lean into this and potentially build something of that nature. And I know a lot of people who are as well. The things that are selling and being used the most are still student facing generative tools. The other thing where I hope to see a pivot is the back office functions, the admin functions is so important, but there is a part of AI about like student empowerment. I talked about at Chicago Public Schools just the maze of programs and scholarships and all of that. AI could disaggregate so much of that for students and frankly put decision making power directly in their hands. It could create frictionless acceptance into programs, right? And I know some of that may sound slightly dystopian to the wrong person said in the wrong context. But what I mean by that is like we could democratize information in ways never before leveraging these tools. But you do need humans at every part of the funnel. You need the information to be checked and you need it to be accessible not for everyone, right? It needs to be like open source or like that information needs to be readily available for all. But that is like so exciting. Now, is that going to be 1 to 2 years? I don't think so. I think it's more like 3 to 5 or even a decade. Like I don't think education is going to be the first to adopt this at scale. But I think what we'll do, what we always do, is convene groups and think tanks and take a really long time talking about it. Which, don't get me wrong, is quite important. Like we don't want to. There's a lot of questions about AI, right? From ethics of the companies, environmental impact, and I don't want to hand wave those things away. But me personally, I see the potential of that impact, and that seems like such a greater mountain than these other things. Like it could be so beneficial for so many students, and we're in a state of American education where the data is not good. The data for learning is just not good, and maybe this is a way to turn the tide. I don't want to be too optimistic, but in terms of all of the tools that have come out in my lifetime, this by far holds the most promise. Will that be one to two? Probably not. But I will tell you, there's many folks like me who are pushing hard to make sure that we do move in a more positive direction in terms of AI and education.
Awesome. I think learning to learn is the biggest gift that educators can give to students uh, today. So I want to get your tip on staying curious in a fast-changing world. What would you tell to the student community?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's something. It's hard because it has to be something innate in you, right? You have
Mm,
to, a desire from learning comes only from you. What I will say is that the benefits are like there's two arguments. There's like the philosophical, like, hey, this is how you reach levels of enlightenment. Understanding the world is so incredibly important because you are a citizen of the world. You navigate this world. The more you know, the better you navigate. More empathy, understanding, wisdom, intelligence. Then there's the economics of it. The more you know, the more skills you have, the more money you can make. And back to what I said earlier about trying to stay relevant, things are moving at a lightning pace that is just like almost impossible to keep up with. You have no choice but to stay open and curious because I frankly, like, we're in a place where someone could major in something in college and that job is obsolete by the time they graduate. Like that is totally possible. So what does that mean is probably more than ever, soft skills are going to be the most important. Critical thinking, analysis, but being able to talk to people, just like person to person connection, is more important than ever. So lean into that, grow as a person, and understand there's value psychologically and there's value economically.
that's great to hear. Like relationships are really important in the adult life, especially in business contexts. And if students are developing themselves for a career, they really need to use education platforms to, build those long-lasting relationships. So that's really important. Any parting comments before we wrap up?
Nothing more than just make sure that there's a lot of industries that surround education, and that ecosystem is so incredibly important. You don't have to be a teacher, an educator, a counselor. You can be a parent, a community member. There are so many ways to support the work that is being done, and it is very important to support those in your community, and sort of education and schools can often be the hub for that. So look for ways to volunteer and support your schools. That's what I'll end with.
Fantastic. That's a really good call to action. And thank you so much, Alex, for taking the time to be on the AI People. And viewers, if you like this video, do hit the like button and also share your comments about Alex's perspective on AI in education. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure. Really enjoyed it today.
Thank you.